Thank you very much, Machine. I'm Drakos, joined by Ender. We're getting ready for our first game between Origen and Mad Lions. My colleague has come from an audition for Grease 2.
Oh yeah, how'd economics class go, Professor?
Okay, touche, that's fair. All right, it's Origen versus Mad Lions. One of our most exciting games of the day, because it is a proving point for Mad Lions, as well as kind of Origen, a proving point for both teams, honestly. Because as great as Origen have looked in some of their games, it's also been, I'll say yikes in some of the other games. I think that's a lack of eloquence on my part, but that feels like it encompasses everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation around the Origen. You know, do they just have to go back to scaling? Can they play these types of mid-game acceleration compositions? So coming into this week, I'm now wondering, do Origen, like they maybe said on Twitter, go back to the basics that were working for them in the early weeks, or actually try to go for some of these styles again where they do have to push the limit in the mid-game and try to push the game forward and come away with the win?
That's going to be a big question. Ender in the draft is going to answer most of that question. That's the nice thing, is we'll know right off the bat what exactly they want to do depending on what champions they're going to pick up. Remember, it is a new patch. It's a new week. Akali is dead in the grave. Long may she rest.
See, people talk about the Akali. It's like, we never saw the Akali last patch either. She got banned every game, so.
And the question for me, as we gear up for our first game, Ender, is definitely, does Soraka just replace Akali on that permaban list, or do we see some more variance in the pick and ban here?
That's the thing. Alphari has played against that Soraka in the hands of Wonder. Didn't have a whole lot of fun in that matchup, and Orome has played it himself too, so that is definitely a pick that I am looking forward to a lot, especially if you are trying to scale up. Soraka seems like she may honestly just be one of the best champions right now in the game, in the late game, because she reaches this sort of point of critical mass where you just no longer deal enough damage to cut through her raw healing power.
Well, in a game that's all about scaling too, that's just going to be all important. Now, additionally, we have seen the Gragas as well as the Jarvan, two of the premier junglers, even on this patch, being banned away. Rakan as well, taken away specifically from Kaiser. Big sign of respect. Heard from him on Ready Check earlier, or heard about him on Ready Check earlier today, but has been a guy who is making a name for himself here in the LEC.
Yeah, especially on those types of champions that can often roam towards mid lane and get involved there. The Rakan, a good choice to take away from him. That's sort of another thing here for Origen. How well can Nukeduck work with the rest of his team to sort of snowball through that mid lane? Because we've seen through different iterations of Origen, Nukeduck be a very big source of power for his team, say last spring, right? Where he was absolutely dominating here in the league. In Summer Split, wasn't able to find that same synergy with his teammates, and that was a problem point for Origen. So that is yet another thing we are going to be isolating and looking at in this first game.
And already, oh man, I'm excited about this one. Soraka banned away. Never again will I have to watch the ambulance on stage. Now the Nautilus as well. Mad Lions, of course, kind of freed up to ban one more champion as the Akali is no longer mandatory. I'd be curious to see if anyone plays it today. I think it's highly unlikely, but you never know what people have been experimenting with. For now, the trend will continue. First pick priority on 80 carries. Aphelios is going to be the priority for Origen. Senna, of course, nerfed pretty significantly on this patch.
Right, and when you sort of compare Aphelios to Senna in terms of overall nerfs, Senna definitely got hit with that, especially to 80 carry Senna. The soul drop rate got hit pretty substantially there, whereas the Aphelios only lost his unlimited range on the Calibrum Q there. But of course, Yuumi is back in meta, of course, got some big buffs on this patch, sort of increase her play rate. I also think she got hotfix too, so she got the little double love tap on this patch as well.
Look, and I love it too because additionally you have Shadow on your screen there looking over to see OG's reactions as they lock in the Yuumi, just to see how tilting, how frustrating this can be. Have to see how the rest of the composition rounds out, but for now, you know, support that scales very well mid to late game, sets carries up for success, and you've also got Humanoid on a roaming champion, and additionally a champion with a lot of dashes, so we're probably not going to see some of the same inconvenient deaths from him this time around, but OG say they're just going to double down on the scaling, so we immediately get a GP and a Leona to complement the Aphelios in the bot lane.
Yeah, so right now Origen have a lot of range, a lot of non-committal CC engage in terms of both Gangplank's and Leona's ultimate. I also like taking this GP early, not just because Alphari is very good on it, but a lot of people consider GP to be quite favorable, a matchup into Aatrox, and if you remember last year when we saw a whole lot of Yuumi, Aatrox was one of those champions with inbuilt healing in his own kit that could absolutely dominate if he got a Yuumi on top of him as well. So we'll see how Mad Lions build out the rest of this comp, because Yuumi works super well with those sort of backline divers that just want more target access.
And additionally, I like now that we have a LeBlanc and an Ezreal on the side of Mad Lions. In general, I'm quite skeptical about Ezreal as a champion, but one thing I will say is that Gangplank has been the bane of every single AD carry in the meta, because every single one outside of the Ezreal has been dashless. So having a champion that can get out of that cannon barrage, alongside the LeBlanc means it's going to be a lot harder for Origen really to set up.
Right, and this will be a very different look of Ezreal. If you've been watching some regions around the world, if you've been watching solo queue as well, this is very likely going to be the lethal tempo Ezreal. We've seen it in mid lane, but with LeBlanc picked already, you assume that will be down bot side. But with some buffs to his base attack speed and the growth per level, lethal tempo has become a solid rune choice for him because, of course, Kleptomancy that he dominated throughout all 2019 on is no longer an option for him.
And it's interesting as well with the shifts to Ezreal. We're also seeing less priority on the jungle here in the draft so far. Very often it was just first three was an AD carry, a jungler, something else. Sometimes it was LeBlanc, sometimes it was a support, but now huge shifts on 10.3.
Hey, it might be Sejuani time. She got some nice little buffs there in terms of attack speed for her early clear. So with an Olaf ban there as well, a lot of these early game junglers getting removed. If you think about actual tank junglers and if you want to bring them into a composition, well, I think Mad Lions have a comp that could work well with that. Of course, Origen too. I think Mad Lions maybe want a physical damage jungler though, or a lot of physical damage there with the LeBlanc in the mid lane to sort of pack a better 1-2 punch, and that's what you're going to get with the Rek'Sai there as well.
When Rek'Sai not picked off the board, Xerxe's going to have to dig deep into the pool there. That's 5 jungler bans. 6 off the board.
I love it,
into
actually.
account the Rek'Sai.
I love it.
That's a good scaling pick.
Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. Karthus last patch and throughout the entire preseason actually lost a lot of win rate. Even though the timers went down and Karthus was always one of those junglers that cleared so quickly, because there is now more experience back in the jungle on 10-3 as opposed to 10-2. I've been trying out the Karthus. He looks really, really good in this meta, and it means that you have AP damage now when you go for a tank Ornn.
This is such an incredible team comp from Origen. I love seeing Ornn in a lane that is not top lane. Excited to see what Nukeduck can do with it. We've got a Cho'Gath to match up against Alphari. LeBlanc going to be toe-to-toe with the Ornn. 2 very different compositions in terms of what they're trying to achieve. Beautiful engage options on the side of OG, and on the opposite side for Mad Lions, the LeBlanc, the Ezreal. So many slippery targets backed up by the power of this Yuumi.
Yeah, they're super slippery, but there's almost so much CC on the side of Origen that it's still going to be really hard to play out these team fights. So for me, when I'm looking at Mad Lions comp, I think they unlock a little bit earlier into the game on 1-2 items here. I expect to see Shadow get very active in the early game. This is one of our more creative junglers when it comes to trying to find gank opportunities or invade. So work with Humanoid in mid to see if you can sort of open up the map a little bit before the scaling power of GP, Karthus, and the rest come online for Origen.
And of course, very difficult to force a large advantage against Origen in the early game. For while they're not necessarily our most aggressive team, they are very smart about how they play the game, very cautious, very safe, very calculated. So finding those openings, finding those weak points may be difficult. Good news is Rek'Sai obviously a lot more of a proactive ganker than something like the Karthus. I imagine we'll see a lot of power farming from pretty much every single OG lane.
Yep, it's gonna be a Barbary here for the side of OG. Scale up towards late has to be the name of the game. So as long as they go back to what had worked for them in the first few weeks, this looks like one that OG have a very solid 5v5 built for and continue to work on some of those basics.
2 teams once again fighting near the top of the standings, looking to cement themselves just a bit ahead of the other one. This week is going to decide a lot for every lineup here in the LEC, and time to see how game 1 plays out. And here we are, zooming onto the Rift. It's the Karthus versus Shadow on the Rek'Sai. Xerxe, of course, one of the big innovators here. Hasn't necessarily had as many opportunities in the last 2 jungle metas to get really creative. It has been a bit stale, but bringing the Karthus back always does feel a bit fresh.
I really like Karthus on this patch too. Hey, look at that.
Hey, it's Nukeduck's 300th game. I honestly forgot this was coming, despite the fact that we planned it ahead of time. But shout out to Nukeduck, 300 games, a huge legend in the mid lane. Obviously hoping still to find that first championship.
But is this his first game on Ornn too? Because we always talk about the Nukeduck champ pool.
The Nukeduck
300 games,
Ocean.
it might have just gotten even deeper, people.
That is the one thing that has always felt very true, is the infinite champion pool of Nukeduck.
I think he won't retire until he plays literally all champions. So as long as Riot continues to release new picks, like,
we'll have Nukeduck
we're going to have Nukeduck.
We're going to have a 60-year-old Nukeduck on stage going out
Get
for
his
the,
walker up
for the
on-
latest
Oh, no.
19 champ, 17 hit passive. It'll be a good life.
I just got confirmation, by the way. It is his first Ornn game. As OG look for an invade, I really like this. Karthus is level 1. Very, very powerful, especially up against the Rek'Sai. So while you consider usually Rek'Sai has a really strong early game impact in this type of matchup, to split the map and to potentially deny a red buff from Shadow is obviously going to be a problem for him.
Now Shadow for now, grabbing the blue. Can just move over. The information is all there, however, and usually Shadow very smart about this. Good that he uses the sweeper, make sure that he at least knows that Origen know exactly where he's going to be going.
And the important thing here is not just necessarily trying to deny a red buff here for Xerxe, but the big thing is actually making sure Shadow is stuck on this bottom side of the map. Because if you actually look at some of these lanes, the Cho'Gath lane against GP is one that he could try to look to set up against early on, whereas bot lane with an Ezreal and a Yuumi, it can be very hard to gank. Even though right now Destiny and Upset are pushing out, what they're going to try to do is fully bounce this wave into the turret so it resets when the next cannon wave comes in, and then they can look to play safely until they know that Shadow isn't around them anymore.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see how exactly the Yuumi affects Mad's strategies, because Kaiser has been a bright point for this team, very solid and very consistent about these engages. Gonna hold that thought though, as Shadow trying to clear out the card camp. We will be forced to back away. Upset and Destiny actually going to be happy to inherit a lot of this gold and experience.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, so much, actually, this is a really big change. On 10.3, so much of the EXP and gold on Krugs got pulled out of the large Krugs and just inserted into the really tiny Krugs. So it's a big deal on this patch that you actually do Krugs. They're the most effective camp on the map. Do Krugs all the time, kids. Trust me. But mainly because you want to finish them off, too. So the fact that Shadow wasn't able to finish them actually denies him quite a bit.
Yeah, because last patch it was just kill the big Krug, maybe kill a medium Krug.
It was like, don't even go near them.
Yeah. Now though, Xerxe moving to the top side is just going to be a Krug for Krug trade at this point in the game. And in the meanwhile, in the mid lane, also very calm. So very static game. I think level 6, we can expect to see a little bit more action, especially once Cho'Gath gets access to the ultimate. But the Yuumi Ezreal lane, not going to kick things off. You said 1, maybe 2 items enter. Well, up until that point, while Ezreal is very strong before the first back, I can't imagine we're going to see a lot of aggression from a champion who builds Tear of the Goddess first.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the weird thing about this Mad Lions comp is that while they do have some like quite a bit of damage and they have really high agency individual characters, you know, like the Ezreal and the LeBlanc can do a lot of things on their own. They don't have super reliable engage tools, right? It's going to be a Cho'Gath probably with Righteous Glory eventually, with the Yuumi on top of him throwing out the it's a final chapter, last chapter, one of those. Final chapter. It's something like that. But that's pretty much their only way to try and initiate a team fight. And Origen should be able to, with all the range in their composition, just drop down sort of like a Karthus wall and walk away. That's kind of the hope for them. So Mad Lions are going to need to get creative with how they find these fights in the mid game.
Yeah. And I think just very different from Mad Lions. And the good news is if they can pull this off, it's going to mean a lot. Oh. Shadow going to be forced to walk away, cannot really walk into a Karthus at any point in the game. Obviously still does a ton of damage no matter what the champion looks like in the jungle.
Yeah, and right now, Xerxe has almost an entire level lead over Shadow. Shadow just ticked to 4, whereas Xerxe is about 85% of the way there. Already got the recycle on the Raptor camp from Shadow, and now has his own topside camps coming up as well.
Oh, and now Shadow just walking topside, trying to generate a little bit of pressure, but is going to get caught out here. The wall goes down. Going to be forced to burrow right back over, and this is so good because it's delaying Shadow. It's continuing to keep Xerxe in an advantageous state. 34-21 is the CS. Xerxe now is going to walk in, get a little bit of extra CS. This is a jungler's dream. Alphari might not be happy about losing that CS, but Xerxe certainly is.
Shadow is so unhappy right now. He's like, not only did I get messed up with my level 1 plans, Xerxe got all my camps. Now Xerxe is just leeching EXP from top lane as well. So Xerxe absolutely living the life at the moment and just trying to get to level 6 as fast as possible, because that's the other problem for Mad Lions here, is that if they don't make something happen before level 6, well, you probably can't make anything happen now either, because there's not just one global on the enemy team comp, there's 2, and there's a teleport in the mid lane. So you have Karthus ult, GP ult, you have to worry about Ornn roaming as well, because from what we see, Nukeduck has been able to get push in mid too, so Mad Lions' options are slowly dwindling.
And it's interesting to me, too, how Mad Lions are drafted, because Carzzy's always the guy that I look at to really step up, really to put up the good numbers here. 645 or 7 damage per minute, 33.7 damage percent. So this guy is no doubt a big carry on the team. Does also die a bit. Obviously something we can criticize for him. Now, the Ezreal's just a very different champion. Outside of like really poke-focused compositions, he's not going to have that same impact. And Kaiser, a big playmaker, is on Yuumi, also not going to have the same impact that we're used to seeing from him. So it's going to have to be a completely new look from the entire Mad Lions bot lane if they actually want to pull up with a win.
Yeah, this is a duo that can very quickly take over a game if they're playing sort of at their peak and you can't find any initiations onto them. And to their credit, there's a lot of predictable engage, right, with the Ornn, with the Leona too. So Carzzy should be able to dodge away from a lot of that. But when you have them all sort of coming at you at the same time, GP slow there too, you're going to have to play absolutely perfectly. Otherwise, you're just never going to be able to put down any damage because you're going to have to play too far away from the rest of the fight.
And so far, so good in the laning phase. We check in on mid lane, though. Nukeduck and Humanoid trading back and forth. No MR quite yet for Nukeduck, while he does have a nice fat health pool. It's not enough to get much else done, and this is brutal for Shadow.
Yep.
Humanoid's walking down, but this does not look good for him. Ornn coming in as well. Humanoid gonna have to dash out to safety. Chains connect. But you got to see OG. We talked about Mad Lion's composition having so much agency, but right now it feels like with OG pushing out these lanes, contesting just about every objective in the jungle, and Xerxe really always being where he needs to be, there's just not a lot for Mad Lions to do.
Yeah. The important clarification there is that on paper, there's a lot of individual champions with high agency. When you put the entire team composition together where you don't really have a reliable engage tool, you're staring down the barrel of like 2 tanky, beefy frontliners and tons of engage options on the OG side. When they group up, it's very easy for OG to have the upper hand and force Mad Lions to walk away from them.
I like that Xerxe is just consistently walking into these lanes and taking both a little bit of gold and EXP. I think
Love it, Humanoid.
Still stepping forward, still feeling confident.
Xerxe has no mana, so this isn't a fight they can really go for.
Yeah, both of these champions are so comically slow in everything that they do that this is a free LeBlanc montage if they stick around in this mid lane.
Nukeduck is sitting on Ignite too. Didn't quite catch if he used the TP to get back to lane. I don't think he did. Spot lane.
Fullback is there. CC and the follow-up on the Gravitum. Carzzy now looking to try this one. Has a lot of safety. Destiny gonna flat forward. Is it gonna be enough to take down Carzzy? The ultimate coming out from the Karthus. Doesn't even need it. First blood for upset.
There's a fight in the top lane too. Alphari just 1v2ing onto Shadow and Orome. They're gonna lick their wounds and back away.
Doesn't even burn flash either.
Yeah. And remember, Xerxe's ultimate was not just used to try and get the kill in the bot lane. He's really sad about that, by the way, but also damage down in that 1 versus 2 situation for Alphari there. So OG win out in that 2 versus 2 down bot side, and now Carzzy doesn't have a flash, lost his teleport as well, which, keep in mind, Yuumi can no longer connect to you on that, so it's not quite as powerful as it once was with that duo, but bot lane already off to a rough start when it should be one of the big carry sources for Mad.
Now, Xerxe pulling through there, but we can take a look back at how this one played out. I love the confidence from Destiny here.
Yeah, and upset, he has red guns. That's sort of the DPS in-your-face gun, as well as the blue for the CC. So roots him up there and then just chain CCs him. In all honesty, Carzzy can't do a whole lot and is also running low on mana. So as soon as Destiny flashes forward right there, there's not really much for him to do.
No, nothing. And just excellent play there from Destiny. Have to call it out. Purple gun, technically ender.
Purple gun.
There's a lot of colors. You gotta get your colors right, too.
You're like close
enough. There's 5. You've lived your entire life with a rainbow of colors. You can remember 5.
Why couldn't they be like more distinct, like bright neon orange?
Bright neon orange. I agree. Putting purple and blue and also red, a little bit troll. I agree. Visual clarity. Alphari, though, potentially going to be in trouble one more time. He's already survived 1, 2,
There's 4 people on the way, though.
Mind. It's a 4v1. Okay, Alphari, with no ultimate available, does technically have the flash. Most he can hope for, I think, is to trade his life. Walking, actually just going to walk past Humanoid. Humanoid missed the first chain. He now has to use the ulti chain to lock him down. The flash away as well. The final chapter, they're burning everything to kill Alphari. They're going to get it done, but what are they going to give up in the meantime? Because top lane tower is getting taken down. The Herald has been summoned, and Mad, I think, lost out big, committing so much to take down Alphari.
Yeah, well, Mad were in a really difficult position right there because, of course, OG had initiated the swap, so they got the Herald, so Mad had to make a play happen. The fact they got the kill was what they came for. They desperately needed that themselves. The question is, can they actually push in time to get this tower? And I don't think the answer is yes on that one. Top lane tower already goes down with the late Herald placement from OG as well to get the maximum value out of that charge. And while yes, they should be able to secure this Drake for them, OG in a very comfortable spot. OG are more than happy to trade up into overall gold as opposed to kills or the potential scaling of a Cloud Drake here too, because as long as they have better items than Mad don't really stand a chance.
It's going to be so very difficult for Mad to win out in a lot of these mid-game skirmishes. LeBlanc's going to feel a lot better once Ludens comes in, but she's playing into an Abyssal Mask, which means nothing's going to happen in that 1v1. You can see Nukeduck. Obviously, Humanoid doesn't fire back anything, but even the Ornn without a single damage item is still hitting hard. Shadow in trouble, gonna get locked up. Xerxe just gonna walk forward and grab that one. Easy picking. Shadow just getting picked apart this game.
Yeah, I think OG sort of took the gamble right there that Mad, because they were so focused on going for the dive in bot lane, had never actually got Kaiser to leave. You know, Yuumi can't roam and put down vision, so they just walk straight up into the enemy jungle. Now they've split the map once more, and they're able to push without any response from Mad. Nukeduck solo pushes this wave topside as well, so it's not like Mad can make a response play themselves. OG are forcing Mad to basically never take an optimal trade.
Burning once again, 2 members pressure all the way here on the top side of the map. Nukeduck definitely has overstayed. Trying to dash out to safety, but will be able to grab that one for Orome. Doesn't even need the feast to finish it off. In the meantime, Origen not getting a lot done, so that is a positive exchange for the side of Mad Lions.
Well, OG still pushing down bot side, so that's
True.
3 turret plates already for them. These are solo plates as well for upsets. Well, yes, Mad Lions, they need the kills. They need all they can get right now, so we're going to give them credit for that. This is not like it's meaning they're trading up a whole lot in terms of overall gold or experience.
Which is a difficult thing, because once again, scaling, to no one's surprise, in favor of Origen. Now Ezreal getting closer and closer to that 2-item point you talked about. LeBlanc finally does pick up the Luden's Echo for herself, but it does not get easier from here. Carzzy, no doubt, safe alongside Kaiser, but how effective can they be at actually pulling something out for Mad? Oh no, Humanoid. If he goes back there, he's just gonna get stunned. He's gonna get locked up. GP all now comes in. There's no room for this LeBlanc to play League of Legends. Point and click him down. The Requiem gonna finish the job.
Killing him from long range right there. OG gets the tower with ease. And this is good to see from OG, because even though they are playing the comp that definitively outscales in this type of a match, OG are also playing proactively here, trading sides of the map, looking for these tower dives. So altogether, putting a very good foot forward here in week 4.
Definitely. Solid performance, especially against a team that is tied with him in the standings. Both of these lineups at 4-2. And you look back at this one, and Humanoid feels like he's got a good opportunity. He's got a 2-level advantage. This is his time to shine. Sadly, too many members here. He just cannot take this fight.
Yeah, but this is the thing we see a lot from Humanoid, not necessarily respecting the whole map state. Because right there, if you were watching the minimap, it was very clear OG owned the bottom half of the river, and Mad Lions owned the top half right there. So while Alphari on OG's side, he was playing weak side, he backed up. Humanoid on his team's weak side did not. He went for the aggressive trade, and that's going to get punished every single time by a team like OG.
Yeah, and you have to feel for him too, because it's been such a frustrating game. Laning against an Ornn, laning against a champion that you cannot assassinate, going to another lane, finding a champion, you finally think, hey, I can one-shot this guy, and then this entire team is in the area. Of course, ticked over to level 10. Carzzy now finally with the Muramana, or the Manamune rather, stacking that one up still, but at this point, it's kind of, I feel like we're in the Mad waiting room. Like, when are they going to show up? When are they going to make a play? Because for now, it's all been super reactive, and some of it's been okay, but they're still clearly very far behind, 24.1 to 21.7.
Yeah, well, I do have some good news, and that's that Righteous Glory has come through from Orome. When you were talking about how this team initiates a fight, it is just going to be that. They're coming into the bot lane now.
Oh, Void Monster's on the hunt. That's going to be the lockdown. They're going to try to find the knock-up. Nothing the Nukeduck can do, and goodbye to the Ornn. Easy kill for the Mad Lions.
That's what we want to see. Mad Lions grouping up, using this Cho'Gath to start off fights. And this time, OG not in a really great position to respond elsewhere on the maps. This is the first time I felt like Mad Lions have gone for a play that was their choice. It wasn't sort of reacting to OG having to push somewhere else. And now they just have to try and keep this turret afloat.
Now OG's turn to react. What can they get done in the meantime? The TP coming in from Orome should be easy for him to walk up and clear the wave. A lot of damage down, but not going to be able to get any greater advantages. The plates are already gone. Humanoid breaking the tower on the bottom side, and suddenly the gold a little bit closer.
Yep. This is what we need to see from Mad Lions. I think Mad Lions is as fast as you can push it now. The next 5-10 minutes is definitely going to benefit them, especially around the dragons, right? They got the first Drake, the Cloud Drake of the game. Now I think if you're Mad Lions, you're looking down the road. It's like, okay, right now we're down a little bit in gold, so obviously we need to try to course correct and fix that as we move forward. But in terms of an overall win condition, if they're trying to level out this game right now, play for the Drakes, try to get to a fast Soul if you can secure them all yourselves, and then an Elder too, because if you can fight for Elder around 30 or 35, as opposed to 40 plus when OG are absolutely in their prime, you're going to give yourself a much better chance of coming away with a win.
Yeah, the bad news for them, though, is that because the early game did not really go in their favor, you're staring down Xerxe, who may only be level 9, but has already finished both magic penetration items.
Yeah.
When level 11 ticks around, that Requiem is going to hurt. Yes, the person being protected by Yuumi will probably be fine, but everyone else is going to have to be scared, and especially Shadow, who has no health to speak of, just the Merc Treads for defensive options.
Now it is Mad just going for that Dragon swap you're talking about, they're going to lose gold off of this Herald play potentially, but with all the outer turrets already pretty much gone, the mid lane's super low as well. I think this is a fine trade for the Mad Lions to take. Just make sure you can get through these as quickly as possible. The other thing they have to consider is that Nukeduck will eventually be reaching those Ornn upgraded items, but right now Humanoid has a major lead in terms of overall experience. It's 2 levels up on Nukeduck, who's only level 10, so that's a huge point of power now for the Mad Lions to try and utilize.
Man, it's not even like someone else on Origen is really siphoning all of that experience. Maybe there's a small advantage in the jungle, but Shadow has actually done a very good job of catching up. Orome now taking over to level 11. Clearly the plan is to funnel resources into Upset. He's been left alone for so much of this game. 1.5 items completed. Looks like we are going to be seeing the Infinity Edge second instead of the Hurricane or the Rapid Fire Cannon. So just raw damage output is what OG are looking for here.
Oh, Humanoid just won out of the way! No! It's a disaster. Wait, they actually don't get that tower now. Because GP can move down potentially. Or no, because Humanoid actually is low. Took a couple of tower shots there too. They're just going to walk away from it.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, that tower is super low. But that's a lot of gold. That was the gold trade they wanted to make for the Herald play. Will mean OG keep their lead for the moment.
Yeah, but it's only 2K. And of course, 2 dragons on the side of Mad Lions. Not going to amount too much. Will be nice for the Yuumi, LeBlanc. Actually, every champion really loving to have that ultimate cooldown reduction. But from here on out, Alphari approaching level 11. Xerxe has ticked over to level 10, and I think that is the big break point where we can really start to see OG start to look to push and force for some of these objectives. Carzzy immediately trying to get mid-priority here, throwing down the Ezreal, proccing the lethal tempo. Should be able to at least match the pressure of the Aphelios at this stage.
So I really like the look from Mad Lions right now. For a lot of this game, they've been playing all 3 lanes, and that's come at the cost of Humanoid getting picked off in a side lane. But right now, they have Humanoid trailing behind Orome, trying to attack Alphari, one of the sources of the global ultimates on this comp. So as long as they can stay hidden, maybe the control ward reveals that, and as Humanoid goes over to clear that, Alphari will know what's going on, but this is what they should be trying to do. Don't try to spread yourselves too thin across the map. Play around the sources of power, especially around the Cho'Gath and the LeBlanc.
And it looks like Upset tried to commit the ultimate in the mid lane with the Gravitum, would not find a target, could not lock down Carzzy. Certainly would have meant death, as Destiny was there for the follow-up. So once again, the Ezreal pick really paying off, making sure that Carzzy cannot just be picked at any moment in this game. Have to see what Origen's response is, because as you said, I really like what Mad Lions are doing moving across the map here.
Yeah, there's a new mode now for both these teams to sort of enter, and it's because you have both teams have a tank and a solo lane, right? For OG, it's Nukeduck in mid lane, Orome, the Cho'Gath in top side. So right now, these teams should be focused on funneling resources into Alphari and Upset. Or on Mad Lion's side, it's going to be Humanoid and Carzzy, not really giving as much to these tanks. And we've already seen that a little bit from Origen, how we saw Nukeduck fall super far behind in terms of experience up against Humanoid. That's because he's just not getting a lot of the solo gold, right? Right now, he's in mid lane around this lane, but it should 100% be Upset that picks up every single minion here. And if it's not, that's a mistake.
And you can see, though, that Origen very clearly trying not to put those resources forward. But on the opposite side, just the amount of CS going into the pockets of Mad is quite incredible. Xerxe has been caught out. Looks like they're fishing for a fight. The Ornn is now coming down. Orome just going to walk forward looking for a bite to eat. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to find it. The Yuumi trying to save him in the final chapter. But that's a Requiem. You can't stop that one from the skies. Death rains down on the Mad Lions.
Mad Lions just forced way too hard right there, going very, very deep. But OG, that's the type of situation they want to fight in when they can kite pack, use these high DPS backliners to just run you down. Now it's them with all the control over the map once more, and they can push down mid.
And Orome just trying to force way too hard. Almost looks like he's going to make it out, but Xerxe now level 11. I don't know if he got to use the level 2 ult, but it doesn't really matter. Finds the kill in the end. 3-0-1 Karthus you're now staring down.
Like, I can see on paper why they would want to fight. Like, looking at it now, I'm not quite sure if Orome had finished off that Warmogs, but if they had just hit 2 items and were comfortable with that itemization.
He had the Warmogs.
Like,
so
the idea makes some amount of sense in terms of we want to fight, but chasing Xerxe so deep into this jungle when the rest of Origen is around and Humanoid is nowhere near means there's not the follow-up damage. We talked about the zone control. Carzzy on this Ezreal can't touch the backline. He can only chip away at the front, and that means that when you have 2 beefy tanks on the side of OG, Ezreal just can't do anything. Without LeBlanc around, you have no damage that's ever going to reach the backline of OG, and that's one of the major reasons why Mad Lions' composition is inferior to OG's in this game.
Yeah, difficult. Just feels like they drafted themselves such a small time window to play around. The good news is the Ezreal has now ticked over the quintessential 2-item spike. We'll say it every time because it is his strongest relative point in the game. Maybe they can look to get something done, but as you mentioned, that's a beefy front line. If your Qs are hitting the Ornn, that's a lost team fight. You need to be hitting that back line. You need to be finding a way to get some work done, because the Karthus is only getting scarier. Looks like we're going straight to death cap after the flat pen. So Xerxe knows exactly what he needs to do in these fights, and that's, well, push R.
Yeah, I'm also looking at Humanoid's items right now. I'm like, is this Season 3 death cap? I don't know what's going on in there. Like, clearly he's trying to buy, like, the component items that he just recalls on, but this is going to delay his potential second item spike, where, like, you need a Void Staff if you're going to be hitting literally anyone on the enemy team outside of now Xerxe, because now everyone has MR, even Upset has a null magic mantle, but the, of course, the Needlessly Large Rod is just a sink of 1250 gold that could be that Void Staff.
Yeah, difficult. You feel like when you adjust your itemization on the fly, sometimes you autopilot the itemization. You have to wonder if he thought, you know, hey, death cap here is the right choice, and then he realizes how tanky the enemy team is. Even if you want to look at squishier targets like Xerxe or Upset, it's just not the best option. Naka will connect, however. Humanoid going to be forced to burn ulti here to make it to safety. Nukeduck will use that spellbook Exhaust. And Destiny just laying down a bit of extra vision. And this is the thing, is that OG were such a Senna team in the previous patch, but I'm so glad that Senna is gone, because you just could not take Baron with that champion. Yes, you'd never take damage, but you also didn't do enough damage. Aphelios, on the other hand, is a Baron killer. This champion can shred through that objective. And I want to see OG start to contest.
Yeah, the thing is, I think OG, their game plan has to be vision first, objective second, right? And that's sort of the safe approach they oftentimes like to go for. And with a comp like this, I think that's completely justified. So looking to get control towards in the river, that right now is, you know, dark for the sides of Mad Lions, but then inside the Mad Lions jungle, make it so that you can actually find a fight outside of the pit where Mad Lions have to walk into you, because that's basically what they have to do with this type of a comp, and then you turn around with that engage from range that has really been crafted here by OG.
And hopefully the fights to come might get a little bit easier for Mad, despite the fact that we talk about 2 items for Carzzy. The Blade of the Rune King appears to be on the way, will help shred through some of the health that we do see from Nukeduck. But the goal tells us very clearly where exactly OG want to put their resources, and honestly shows how far ahead they are in some of these individual matchups.
Yeah, it shows both sides too, because you're talking about how neither team wanted to give a whole lot of gold to the tanks. You can see how far OG have gone down that route. Nukeduck has less gold than both junglers. That's insane. They don't care about giving him items, and quite honestly, there's absolutely no reason to. When you have Karthus in the jungle and you put a tank in the mid lane, like, this makes a lot of sense to me, because you're effectively just trying to funnel more resources onto Xerxe. So if forever there's some reason where Upset or Alphari aren't in the same lane as Nukeduck, it should be Xerxe, and it should be him picking up a lot, and that's why he has a 40 CS lead over Rek'Sai. It's why he's able to walk with freely into the enemy jungle and take away camps.
And one of the things that I love about the itemization coming out from OG is that we see, like, clear awareness in terms of building Ornn itemization. Hold that thought, see if this fight breaks out. Knockup will not connect, because you see Upset going for IE second, so he can get that Ornn upgrade. You see the immediate death cap third for Xerxe, so he can get the Ornn upgrade. Everyone optimizing kind of their build path, because we saw a Runan second coming in from Upset, where, like we often do, he would have to wait so long to actually get that effective damage boost that Ornn so easily provides.
Yeah, now the problem is that Nukeduck just doesn't have the levels to really do it. He just ticked over to 13 and handed the Molten Edge to Upset, but now, like, Mad Lions just gave up their top lane tower. That tower was already damaged from the Rift Herald going down earlier. Now they're trying to force fight, but Alphari does have teleport to join.
Difficult to fight around this Cho'Gath, however. Rupture already been burned. Debating how much they want to keep in.
No!
They pulled back. Humanoid has been locked up. The Aphelios all now coming down. Humanoid zoned out, but the cat is there in the midst of everything. The knockup not going to matter much. Requiem now coming down. Humanoid still being healed up, but it's Orome who has been caught out. The Ezreal will not connect. They try to force Upset. Humanoid now has to run for the hills, but Alphari just walking forward. The fancy footwork is not enough, and OG once again finding a 2 for 0.
OG just showing how good this comp is at beating you in fight. Pushing up into top lane saying, come at me, bro. And now they're going to do the same thing around the Baron. Should start this one up, and as soon as Shadow walks in, he's going down.
Ooh. They have so much potential to zone this one away. They don't really need anyone else on this objective. Shadow, can he make it over the wall?
Well, Ezreal is poking quite a bit here. The Baron's going down too quickly, though.
Flash, 4K. I mean, Shadow can still steal. There's always the potential.
It's 50-50. It's 50-50.
Going over. Nukeduck's going to take
it. It's a double smite.
The Ornn denying it. That's a bit of spellbook flare, but now Carzzy in the pit. So many low health bars. So basically untouchable Ezreal. He has to be careful. The flash backwards, a bit more damage. Destiny. He's now on the hunt. He's running out of mana quickly, though. Don't think he can get this one down. 4 seconds left.
Nukeduck is TPing in, though. They want to turn this around on him.
Ooh, Carzzy cannot afford to take another Skittle to the face there. Yeah, decides it's a little bit too soon to taste the rainbow. Will back away. Will retreat. And Origen extending their gold lead to 8K.
8K here. We'll see this one more time too, because at the start it's like 5v4, OG maybe in a tough position, but then they just say, nah, because Destiny connecting the Zenith Blade, that will take him all the way back towards Humanoid, effectively removing him from the starting half of this fight. And again, Carzzy topside, like, he can't get out any DPS, so all OG have to do is pick a direction they want to run, and Mad Lions are going to go down. Forward was the choice right there as they walk down into the enemy jungle, and then, you know, just clean it up. Flash smite. Oh wait, maybe Xerxe didn't even have smite for Baron, and they just had to switch it over.
Yep. Now
so it wasn't true.
Oh, no, he does have smite.
Or well, you can't trust that thing at the bottom there. We'll see it. We'll see it here. So that's gonna be 1, 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, that's a double smite.
Clean. And to be fair, we talked a little bit about jungle mid synergy, and you may not have seen it everywhere you wanted to, but giving resources to your jungler, 1 point for Origen.
There you go.
Double smiting an objective down as a jungler and a mid laner, 2 points for Origen.
You'll
So
love to see
positive
it.
trends.
Positive trends also that they just upgraded the Infinity Edge and the Rabadons, like you were addressing earlier. Now, Mad Lions, they want to go for a bit of a base race, which I don't blame them because they'll lose a fight, but I will blame them when they lose their base because they definitely do not win this push.
Absolutely not. Upset has the chakram as well, so he's just going to shred through that tower. They're now retreating.
Okay.
Yeah, not so sure about this one, but desperate times, desperate measures, all that.
All right.
And of course, the top lane inhibitor is exposed as well, so OG can, if they want to, just walk over. Could look to proxy the mid lane wave, but Origen, 2 expectation. We'll take it slow. We'll back off, we'll reset, we'll get a few items, and then look to continue the push in the mid lane.
Yeah. One other thing we haven't really brought up in a little while was the dragons and how Mad Lions maybe we're trying to accelerate that forward and secure those. OG have gotten the last 2 Mountain Drakes, so Nukeduck very happy about that. He's like, well, I've got these items that give me more stats than everyone else. I've got these Drakes. It doesn't matter that I have no gold because I'm still going to be virtually unkillable with a stopwatch on top of that too. So now OG, what they're going to do is they're playing 2 lanes at the moment because bot lane will push up for them. So they can go right down mid with these minions. Alphari will go up towards top side. And they maybe just find a fire.
They're just going to go right in. Carzzy. Not a single chance left. Give him a break. He's just a rookie. Cutting him down. OG just going to walk to the mid lane. Remember, top lane inhibitor exposed as well. This should be the final nail in the coffin. We might see another 4 minutes of gameplay, but that's going to be about it. They go in. The follow-up is there. The snares connecting. Shadow in trouble. Down comes the Requiem. How many are going to drop? Humanoid popped. Xerxe, legendary, and OG walking right down mid to close this one out. Why not kill yourself with Cho'Gath and a cat? A little bit more spice on top. Kaiser knocks down, and the base will follow. Origen moving up to 5 and 2. An absolute display of dominance. I'm getting caster curse every time because people refuse to end the game, but they're taking their time. They're looking for one more kill. They want to rub it in his face, but it's not going to happen. OG will end the game.
That was just nasty from Origen, right? You know, they came off a little bit of a rough week 3. They come into the games today, say, we're going to draft what we like to play. And it honestly just didn't even feel like they gave a chance to the Mad Lions because even though you say you get outscaled with this comp, like Xerxe was inside the enemy jungle from level 1, never taking his foot off the gas. Just really nice stuff from OG.
Yeah, the thing that really made this all work out for me is both the incredible jungling from Xerxe, but also I think the heads-up drafting from the side of OG. The Ornn pick is so good against LeBlanc Ezreal. Because if they do not get super fed, they just can't do anything in a team fight against this champion. His hitbox is giant. He body blocks everything for his backline. He's impossible to kill.
Every fight sort of started off with Mad Lions saying like, oh, this is a good one for us. They get their damage down, and then OG just sort of turn around. But they didn't even move because like, the Upset and Xerxe and Alphari were all just able to hit their enemies from like 2 screens away. It just never felt like it was a fair fight or even close to one.
Yeah, and I think when we look at it, once again, I think that Destiny also deserves some recognition here. It feels like his follow-ups were on point, wasn't afraid to flash Shield of Daybreak to find the stuns.
I mean, he got Humanoid like every single time, right? And tracked him back to the distortion as well.
It was a good look. But at the end of the day, Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter is the place. You can vote for Upset, Xerxe, Alphari. I think it has to be Xerxe, personally. No?
He played a good game. I'm honestly, I'm just like sort of sitting back looking at this one like, yeah, if you look top to bottom, everyone had a really solid performance. Karthus maybe gets a little bit more kills than other people should because he just drops the R from a mile away, but I think there's a lot of good cases to be made here.
Yeah, and I think that Karthus jungle might just have to be considered back after a performance like that. It was solid. Normally, I expect that champion to just get dunked on in the early game, but Xerxe did a fantastic job just kind of outmaneuvering his opposition. And Well, what do you know? We might just have an interview with the man himself. Let's see what he has to say about that fantastic performance.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Xerxe, for joining me. I saw you spending some time with the Mad Lions before the game. For those who don't know, you used to work with Mac, with Splice last year. So what is extra special for you drafting against him today and playing?
Well, definitely, because I spent 2 years of my life with in Splice and with Max. So yeah, it was definitely more special. It wasn't the usual LEC game for me.
And was it easier for you to prep against them because you know maybe how Mac can think when drafting?
Yes and no, because at the same time, like he also knows my tendencies and how am I as a player. So yeah.
That's a two-way street then. Now a bit more about the game. I know they want to talk about drafting and jungle maybe on the AD later. We saw some new picks today, the return of Ezreal, Yuumi for the first time in the LEC, and Karthus in your hands. So I want to know, why did you think it was the best time to draft Karthus, and what do you need to make this champion successful on patch 10.3?
Well, we've been practicing a lot of Karthus this week, so even though their team comp was kind of annoying to play against, because Yuumi has a lot of heal for the team, that's what we practiced, and we felt like, you know, we are confident in this, like we won most of the games, so we're like, yeah, let's go for it.
What do you think makes this champion good right now?
Well, it's not so much about the champion, but also it's the fact that they buffed the jungle XP dispatch. So it just feels much better as a jungler to play right now.
Yeah, because you were saying last time we had an interview, I'm the dog for my teammates on patch 10.2. So you mentioned the jungle buffs. Can you explain how is it different now?
Well, the buffs weren't that meaningful. I still think it's worse than it was in the previous years. But it's obviously a good step in making jungle a bit more useful.
You're still waiting for more?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would like a bit more, but at the same time, I know how everyone is complaining that jungle is so OP, so yeah.
Well, step by step, maybe the next patch. Xerxe, thank you for the interview. Congrats on the first win this week.
Thank you.
And to hear more about the game, let's send it to you guys.
Thank you so much. That was Laure there with Xerxe, and a big win. And it wasn't a typical LEC game, at least that's the words that he chose to share with us. It felt like it had a little bit more oomph to it, and it certainly did for our analysts, Vedius and Frosk. You guys were talking all about how you felt like there was a different OG draft, a different world out there last week. This week, you're expecting a return to the norm. Did you get it?
Yes. So we want to immediately get into the draft, and I'm going to use this giant fancy wall that I have behind me to talk a little bit more about it.
I love fancy walls.
When we think about what happened last week, we can see, oh, this is the draft that we ended up seeing this time around, right? So when they were drafting, what am I looking at right now?
You're
this
looking
is
at the draft you just watched.
Yeah. So this is the draft that we just saw, and you'll notice that they've gone for much more of a scaling choice. You have the Ornn in the mid lane, you have the Karthus, you have the Gangplank, very strong scaling champions. And the great thing about them is they mitigate a lot of what Mad is trying to do. Things like LeBlanc and Rek'Sai, known as a very strong 2v2 mid-jungle duo, is mitigated by the fact that they can't gain much pressure against this Ornn. So this lane is neutralized, giving Karthus all the free time in the world to be able to farm up, ramp up, and allow Xerxe to actually play the way that we want. And when you have a look at some of his early game stats, you can see that Origen were able to find a plus 1.5k gold difference in the early game. They were able to find 3 kills plus assists in the early game as well. And when we contrast that to how they played against Misfits last week, it was Origen that was trying to go for much more of this style. They drafted a strong mid-jungle duo. They tried to get ahead through the mid lane and synergy with their jungler, and I felt like that it just wasn't there.
Do we have a way to bring that up? Can we bring up the other draft to visualize it, just sort of for my memory's sake?
I mean, as a reminder, there we go.
So, yes. So here we can see the Qiyana and the Elise. So when you look at this draft, the whole goal is to get this, and this champion all working together to help move them around the map and attack these side lanes. Try and shut down the Zyra Khan, trying to shut down the Aatrox. But they were unable to do it. They found themselves in a 3,000 gold deficit in the early game. They didn't get a single kill plus assist, and a lot of it came from the fact that these players were playing very independently of each each other. The great thing about a Karthus is it doesn't need you to work well with your team. You just have to be farmed up and ready in order to react to any plays that happen on the map. And I felt like that we get to see a clear shift and draft focus from the side of Origen to allow them to play much more of their style that we're used to seeing from them, and it guaranteed them so much more success compared to the past.
Well, there is no doubt that there is a clear shift back to a scaling composition. There's no doubt about it, seeing the Thresh as well and the Elise completely absent from today. And instead, let's focus on what we did see today. You touched on the Karthus, and Xerxe kind of echoed some of the sentiment we were theory crafting backstage, Frosk, regarding why he's showing up now.
I mean, the idea is that if you listen to LS, Karthus should have been much higher priority much earlier on. But when the jungle changes came through where you have more uptime on camps, Karthus is the perfect jungler because he farms so quickly. But one of the examples was that there wasn't enough gold or experience. So even though you're farming constantly, there's still more gold and value into the lane. So you would need emphasis on ganking junglers. Yeah. But the thing is Karthus doesn't need to leave the jungle to gank the lanes as soon as he has access to ultimate. It's like the best of both worlds. And now on top of the 10.3 changes where more gold and experience has gone into the Krug camp, it's just heyday for Karthus. On top of that, there were 5 jungle bans this game. And as soon as it came to the Rek'Sai, Vedius, I turned to you, I was like, this would be a great Karthus game. They locked in Rek'Sai. I was like, oh no, Xerxe's Karthus. Xerxe was the Karthus player. Yeah. I know it was G2 who were recognized about it, but Xerxe was the guy in scrims that was tearing up with this champion. So now
he was still playing it even when many other teams in Europe weren't.
Exactly. So now that it's rotated back into the champion pool, people need to be aware how devastating this champion can be, especially on Origen's bread and butter, where they just kick back, put their feet up on the desk, and just cruise control into late game, because they show how crazy good they are at neutralizing anything to happen in early.
And this is the important thing to acknowledge, is that we're not sitting there and saying the Origen's just doing nothing, right? Because they found a 2v2 kill bot, they mitigated a lot of what the enemy team tried to do, and we can see that when Mad tried to force these fights, it was just way too difficult for them.
Think about how hard it is for Carzzy right now. They try to engage with the Cho'Gath because he's their only hard engaged champion, but you're against a Gangplank and a Karthus. Yeah. You literally just press R. Karthus doesn't have to even aim, just press R. Gangplank has a giant circle, drop it onto him. The AD carry is completely out of the match, and then on top of that, you put something like an Ornn ultimate, an Aphelios ultimate, the line damage, the back reach, a Leona ultimate, everything's falling from the sky, and Carzzy's like, I'm playing dodgeball, and I have nothing to play back with.
And this is why, when at the beginning of the day, we looked at the standings, and we were a little surprised that things are shaken up this way, because many of us would still say that Origen is a clear third place. Right. And when you look at a game like this, it supports the argument and justifies why we were saying that. Origen is clean when they play the style that they are extremely familiar with, and I feel like this is exactly the look that Origen need to keep if they want to still sit with the top in Europe.
Yeah, and the top for this game, your Kia player of the game, has been locked in. Looks like Xerxe has taken it with 74% of your votes. And I think actually another point, not only just his Karthus, incredible, but also this Ornn. I haven't seen much of Goat Boy, certainly not in middle, but he just seemed like an immovable force. I mean, is this just product of the draft and it just works wonderfully for them, or am I going to be seeing more of this?
In terms of the LeBlanc matchup, he is literally budget Morgana, and he's budget Morgana because he's the buy one get 20 free. He's like, let me upgrade this for you, and this for you, and this for you.
Yeah, I think he was just a product of the draft, and I think that you should expect to see him more. We've already seen him a little bit in Europe. We've been seeing him around the world, especially from Chovy and the mid lane over in the LCK. So I think that it is something to expect more of as we progress through the split. Probably not first pick, first ban, though.
No, maybe not. Maybe that's exclusive to this game, but OG do pick up the first win rather convincingly as they return to their scaly goodness. When we do return, though, we're going to be bouncing straight back as Esports look to find themselves some redemption with a convincing win against SK Gaming. We'll be talking all about that when we return.
Hello, this is Patrick, and after a break, we're about to play SK Gaming. It's going to be a nice match, so make sure you watch.
charged up.
Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.